What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Teachers Lounge. We have amazing guests on tonight. Honestly, the best guests that we've had. Give it up for the one, the only UTLA.
Yes.
Yay. UTLA.
Thank you for having us.
No, it's so good that both of you came on here tonight. So awesome win, first off, by the way. But let me allow you guys to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Gloria Martinez.
Okay.
I am the UTLA treasurer. Julie and I both are leads on the bargaining team. I'm a SPED teacher, and I've been in the district for 26.5 years.
Wow. Nice.
And so I'm finishing up my role as treasurer. Come July 1st, I am the newly elected UTLA president.
Oh,
awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
President
Congrats.
of the
Mic drop.
second
That's
largest
amazing.
union in the country.
That's amazing. Yeah. Congratulations.
Is it even the world?
Yeah.
I mean, Los
Our
Angeles
world,
is huge.
Our world.
You know, bigger than some countries. So
Yeah.
I'm Julie Van Winkle. I am the AFT vice president for UTLA. And I'm got reelected, so I'll be doing that again. But
Very
before
nice.
that, I was a middle school math teacher.
you've been in the trenches.
Yes. That's Chris Lane. Okay.
Yeah, and I've been in the district, 18 years.
Oh, nice.
18 years. Right on.
Are you both from Los Angeles, California area?
I'm an Angelino. Yeah, I went to LAUSD schools, so I attended those. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I'm from Chicago.
Oh,
but
me too.
I went to
I
went
to
to
Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I went to UCLA for college and just never went back to Chicago.
The weather.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Yes, I'm with you.
Happy to have her.
Chicago winters. So
Yeah.
you have been through Chicago winters, and you were a middle school teacher. Those are two of the hardest things.
Like glutton for punishment.
Yeah, 100%.
And now I'm like the nerdy bargaining team person that explains the like tough salary questions. So I just can't get enough.
Yeah, you just love the pain of going through Chicago.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So
love it.
just to rewind to what Matt said, how'd you get into UTLA? How's that work out?
Well, I don't think anyone really sets off wanting to be, 100% consumed by the union work. But here we both are. So for me, I was, I'd say I was in my 10th year teaching or so. So it's been about 15, 16 years. And at the time, the charter schools were, and the privatization of public education was a real threat. And my school was being threatened by a co-location. So a charter comes on into our like empty quote unquote empty spaces. And at the time, I just remember thinking that this was wrong. I love Rowan Avenue Elementary East area. I love my school, and I really thought it was worth defending. And I had a very supportive principal. And I just showed up to meetings and asked all the right questions, which is pretty par for the course for someone who gets into this work. Asked all the right questions, and little by little, you just realize, how much it matters to workers to have their rights. And so it escalated. And now here we are 16 years later.
Wow. Ooh,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Love. Okay.
Yeah.
And for me, I started teaching at a charter school in the Pico Union area, and it was a crazy situation. It was like the mid 2000s. The school had when I first started, there was no building, and we were like walking the kids to MacArthur Park and teaching them on little tarps like in the park.
Wow.
And then the district found a space for the charter school in this like dormitory type building in Hollywood somewhere. So we would get on a bus because the kids lived around MacArthur Park. They would get on a bus and be bused there. And I had to like line them up sitting on like bunk beds. And then we finally got a space that had like no windows. So anytime like somebody turned off the lights, there was like no light in the whole building. It was it just seemed like kind of made me think like, this doesn't seem legal all the time, like some of the stuff we're doing. And so my friend and I that were teaching there, we were hearing about this new school that was like being built across the street, which is John Lathy Middle School. And we were like, we should apply to that school. And so then we applied to John Lathy, and we both became teachers. And at that time we had our elementary teaching credentials. And we kept getting laid off. Like we would just have to sub in our positions like the whole year, and then we get hired on later in the year. So that kind of made me think like, wait a second. I came from this crazy experience. Now I'm in this different crazy
Wow.
experience. And everybody they hired at John Lethe was like a brand new teacher like me. So we all had like no seniority. So I think 80% of the classroom teachers at John Lethe would get pink slips every year or were subbing in unfilled positions. And so I went to UTLA and I was like, hey, like, can you do anything for us new teachers? And the first time I went to a UTLA meeting, it was like the House of Representatives meeting. And I asked that question. I literally got booed out of the door. But we just like kept organizing. And like we would meet up with other teachers that were in the same situation throughout the district. And this was around the time where they were doing like the 99% like encampments, you know, downtown and stuff. So we were like, we should do encampments outside our school because like all of our teachers are getting laid off, and it should be like, hey, we're gonna like stay at the school and we're gonna like camp out, you know. So then we started doing encampments around the schools. Like some people did hunger strikes. We did an encampment outside of like the Beaudry building, and like Dolores Huerta came and joined us one day, and so that kind of was my like radicalization, I guess, my like entrance into the union. And after that, my mentor Janet, who is now retired, but she was a teacher at Tolman Way, was like, you know, you should like consider running for the board of directors of UTLA. And so I did. And then I also got my math credentials so they could keep so they would stop laying me off every year because they needed math teachers.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And now, you know, with UTLA, I know is 150 people, right? Roughly on the bargaining team. That how long was that group of 150 working just day after day? Because I don't even know. Regular teachers don't know.
It was insane. So this is the second time that we've expanded our bargaining team. So other unions across other sectors also use like big bargain teams, right? And it's important. One, it democratizes, you know, the process. With a few exceptions, bargaining is not confidential. So whatever happens in the bargaining session, the workers need to know about it. And it's hard because Julie and I have been on the bargaining team since 2017, 16. So it was hard when there was like a 12-person bargaining team for us to get to 38,000 members, right? So investing in a large bargaining team allows for folks to really see what goes on like behind the scenes, quote unquote. So this is the second iteration of such a large team. The last time around in 2023 is around 108 members. This time around, because it was so successful, you know, it's 150 people. And the process begins long before that. So by the time it hits the bargaining team, we know what the platform is that the members already voted on. So the members say, this is what we're looking for. And then we consolidate it because we have, you know, 900 chapters. And we create a list and we turn it into a platform and says like, is this what we want to fight for? And the people, you know, the workers ratify it. The workers vote for it. And then it becomes a mandate of the bargaining team. So we've been bargaining for 14 months.
And just to add, like, so before we even start bargaining, every chapter chair, which is like the union rep at the school, ask some open-ended questions. And then we have a little form that they like, what is your school doing really well? You know, what do you need more of at your school? What do you think parents want at the school? Kind of questions like that. So we get answers. They write them on this form and then they give them back to us and we look at it. And then like Gloria was saying, kind of make a list of these are the things that our members want. And so then we take that, you know, these could be our demands in bargaining. And then the bargaining team are all the people who have been elected onto steering committees. So they're the people that like plan the area meetings, and there are 8 UTLA areas and most of them have steering committees of like about 20 people. So if you are on the steering committee or you're a member of the board of directors, you can be a member of the bargaining team. And then after that, like once the bargaining team agrees, you know, these are the things that we want to fight for in our contract, then Gloria, myself, Jennifer, who's another officer, and Cheryl, our executive director, and Brian, our organizing director, like we kind of take them and turn them into bargaining language
Demands,
Okay.
and
yeah.
like the proposals. But then
Nice.
of course the team has to approve everything. So we just get ideas from them. It would kind of be chaotic if we had 150 people all trying to write bargaining language. And
Yeah,
our contract
absolutely.
is like
Too
kind
many
of confusing
type As.
enough.
That's that middle school
Yeah, too
training.
many editors.
So,
But yeah, so everything we do, and then every step of the process, like every time we decide like we're going to pull back this proposal or we're going to change this proposal, it has to be approved by the bargaining team. And at first that seemed like kind of
Wow.
scary to us.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is true. Like in 2019, when we won, like we who had been in the room, because both of us were in the room at that time, we're just like, this contract's great. And then we're explaining it to people and they were like, that's it. Because, you know, people have other things going on in their lives. They're not like, oh, I wonder where UTLA is at with bargaining
Right.
like every
Yeah,
week
yeah,
for a
absolutely.
year or
That's
two, you know?
something.
So it's
Yeah.
like, having all those people on the team then going back and talking to their schools and the other schools in their clusters
Yeah.
and you know the what they're supposed to do. And I know like life happens and it gets busy, but we asked them, you know, you should have regular meetings. Like some of them would have weekly Zoom like kind of office hours where people could come in and ask about how bargaining is
Get
going.
updates.
And
yeah.
that did really help like just educate the members about what is going on with bargaining and like what are the moves we're making from like day one until we finally get a settlement. Because as much as I hate to admit it, not all of our 39,000 members read the bargaining updates diligently every time they
Yeah.
drop, you know?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
also hard too, right? Because, you know, there's probably so much. And so we're all social media. It's like we're looking at the
Snippets.
highlights,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
And
Yeah. This happened yesterday. We were in meetings, area meetings, and the bargaining team leads in that area that I was in. We all kind of huddled outside after the meeting, and they're like, Gloria, did we win on this issue? And all of us were like, yes, but we won this so long ago in the 14-month process
Mhm.
that we're like, it didn't make the highlights, but it should be highlighted. And then someone said, well, everything is a highlight, you know, to
So
somebody,
much stuff,
to
yeah.
somebody. But,
Yeah.
you know, there were so many things that we won on this time around that really improved working conditions, that really helped workers like be more like a bigger part of the decision-making power, you know, decision-making bodies. So some of those wins we won, you know, 6, 7, 8 months ago,
Mhm.
but it's like a different adrenaline from like what we won over the weekend.
yeah, well, one of the
That's
big
amazing.
things, because I know you said being sped, right? Is that I noticed that since I'm not a sped teacher, I only kind of glanced at it, but there was something about classroom sizes,
Yes.
right? What was that exactly?
So, thank you for asking.
Oh.
So special education needs a lot of help. I'll just, for those folks that don't know,
100%.
Interesting.
it is underfunded federally. It is underfunded at the state level, and the district has to make up for whatever the state and the federal government cuts, right? So
Okay.
IDEA, it's law, it's supposed to be funded at a certain percentage. Surprise, surprise, it's not funded at that percentage.
Mhm.
And so it is also what you would call, quote unquote, the most expensive students because there's services that are provided, right?
Mhm.
We firmly believe that if a child needs a service, they should
Mhm.
absolutely get it, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so special ed needs a lot of help. And so what we did in 2023 was we bargained a stipend for violating the class size caps, because a couple of things are true in special ed. Well, a couple of things are true in education.
Mhm.
One, no one's coming into the profession, right? We are severely underpaid. There is, you know, a lot of issues around, you know, classroom management, classroom size. There's all of that. So in special education, it's even more scary because you're like, now I have to deal with IEPs, and that's a legal document. So
Mhm.
there's not a lot of people coming into it, education, and unfortunately, but that's about to change because we just won amazing raises.
Yeah.
And then for special education, it's harder. So knowing that, we know that the district cannot put a lid on special ed class sizes. First of all, it's illegal because any child we have to accept, right? Public
Absolutely.
education. Second of all, without people to open up new classes, there's going to be class size violations. So we bargained a stipend per semester of either $625 or $1,250. That was such a problem. It was
Really?
we ended up going to an arbitration. I made a joke that the district ended up paying more in legal fees than the actual stipend. It was a pain in the ass because basically our members had to prove that they earned it. So this time around, we got rid of that money. So by the time people were fighting for their $625 in February that was owed to them in the first semester, like, you know what? This has taken me 15 hours of my life. At $625, it's not worth it. I give up. Now, if you're over by 2 students in a classification period, you are getting $500 overage. If you're over by 3 or more students, you're getting $1,000 overage pay in your next check. So it goes by classification periods. We'll explain all of this. But if you are over in the entire school year, 2 students, you're going to get $5,000 more. If you're over 3 students, you're going to get 10 times 1,000, $10,000 more. It has to cost the district something for them to be incentivized to find more educators so that we can eventually lower the class. So special ed is going to be funkier than usual for the next few years, but we hope that our hope is that what we're setting in place right now is going to have long-term like dividends, so it's going to, things are going to be working like this a little bit, but like sooner or later, I mean, those gears are going to be kicking in.
Yeah. And to your point with, attracting new people, because of the caseload, I've seen it personally in schools, is sped teachers burn out at such a high rate because the workload is just incredible, especially because you're not just teaching. Like, I don't think your average person that is watching, if they are not in education, how much paperwork is going on in special education. So that's really great to hear. And I could tell the passion in your voice.
Absolutely. I love that.
And that was great to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. SPED is my jam.
So that would help to hire new teachers to help with that?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt, right? We want new teachers to feel supported. We have a special ed salary table, which gives a little bit more money to help bring in. But I think to your point, I mean, throwing money at an issue doesn't fix problems, right? That's not what we're trying to do. But what we need to do is for the district to realize that the investment into special education is worth it. So it's got to cost them something. So as long as we have a violation in class size, they should be compensated. And so now it's going to be a monthly versus a semester stipend, which means that it's going to hit people's pockets a lot sooner. And that's what, a lot of what we won this time around was about affordability in Los Angeles. And special education teachers, they do burn out quick. In fact, of the teachers that leave LAUSD, 31% of them are within the first 5 years. So we want to retain those, and we want them to feel valued, and compensation and working conditions is part of that.
Yeah. And speaking of, salaries and all that, I know the salary table, Julie, has been completely revamped.
Yep. Overhauled.
Overhauled.
Facts.
Yeah. So, this is, I think that when I think about like what this contract is, it's kind of like laying a strong foundation to put us in a situation where in 2028 we can like really, because all the teachers, all the big urban teachers unions up and down the state of California have kind of been thoughtful about how can we all bargain our contracts so that they expire up to like in the year 2028. And at that time, that is going to be a huge campaign for the whole state. And I think that's the time where we really have to be bold to have really important, because I mean, you have to remember, like, California has divested from public education for the last 40 years. So we know that no individual contract is going to get us the fully staffed schools that we always want. It's always kind of incremental wins along the way. But that said, 2028 is such an opportunity. It's, UAW has called for a general strike. It's the presidential election. And now we have all our contracts lined up at the same time. So we do think that this is probably the best opportunity for any of us in our lifetime to really demand big changes. I mean, here we are in the biggest city, in the richest state, in the richest country in the history of the world.
Right.
Facts.
And California funds its schools like somewhere in the middle of the pack. Like, you know, by some calculations, we're 21st in per pupil funding, others like 16th, others 8th, you know, but any number that's not one is a problem because we are the richest state. We're the 4th largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like why are we underfunding our schools? And two things can be true at the same time. Like we need more funding from the state and from the federal government for public education, but also our district is mismanaging the funds they have and not putting enough into the schools and into paying their employees. So like, you know, I that was kind of like a long preamble to the salary scale, but we wanted to kind of get a strong foundation so that in 2028 we're good to go. And something that had really been a problem for a long time was our salary schedule. Like in LA Unified, you need the equivalent of 2 master's degrees to max out on your salary points. And like, you know, the salary points are the professional development units you have to take to like keep getting more pay, you know, and then you max out. It was 98 points that you needed, which is a lot of classes to take. And what we found is that like it really disproportionately affected single moms because it's a big time commitment, it's a big money commitment, and it's hard to get all those salary points done while you're also working a full-time job. And like if you're a single parent, that's really hard. So we wanted to like raise the starting rate to attract and retain new educators. We wanted to like compress the amount of salary points you needed so it's easier to like max out on how much money you make. And we also wanted to make sure that all our members, including the veterans, got, you know, significant raises, because it is like when I first started teaching, people would complain, you know, it's really hard for a teacher to be able to afford to buy a house in LA.
Especially out here.
Well, now it's not even, forget about affording to buy a house. It's just like affording rent. It's
not
hard
having
for
a roommate.
Not
having a roommate.
Having to have a roommate when you're older is
Here's the
embarrassing.
stats. So 30 years ago, the top of the salary schedule for LAUSD was about 50,000. The average home price was 200,000. So now people look at it and they go, "Oh, you guys are around 100,000." Yeah, but a starter home is now $1 million.
$1.1 million.
Even a condo.
In an okay area, by the way.
Okay area.
No, and rents, and it's not just the rent. It's like the deposit, and they check your credit score and all this stuff. So like, good luck trying to find an apartment if you have less than like $4,500 that you can just put down immediately, you know?
And I got to say too, with, you know, the starting salary. So two things. I remember when I first got hired, because I was a sub first, I didn't look at the salary schedule. So back in the day when I first got it, I looked at it and I was like, I'm going to make how much? And it was so little where you're like, it wasn't this huge jump. And now it is, right? And on top of it, so with that salary schedule, I've always said that pretty much if you have a master's in education, whether it's administration or whatever, that should pretty much cover all of your salary. What more do you need to prove?
It's an Easter egg hunt.
And can I just add 2 things to what Julie explained? I think she explained it really well. But one, the divestment in public education in California came with Prop 13. Prop 13 really just stifles the way we fund public education in the state of California. And 2, when we look at the salary scale, to Julie's point about how punitive it is, the fact that 20% of our members are beyond year 10 and have not maximized their salary points tell us that there's a real issue. So like this salary, this rehaul of the salary table allows people to break free from, again, just being constrained by these numbers that the district put out. The industry norm on salary points up and down the state is around 70. The district, and all in its infinite wisdom, was like, but we want more. But they're not compensating us more than other districts. So it just didn't make sense for them to have such a high expectation, but such a low like devaluation of what we're worth.
Absolutely. And it makes me think too, one of the big issues for teachers has been all these extra things that I have to do just to survive, especially living in LA.
And he's
So
such
it's
a
like
new teacher.
the salary
Yeah.
points. It's like he was telling me about salary points, and it's like the secret menu at In-N-Out. I'm like, there's more. Like there's more that I have to do.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
less fun.
Yeah.
It really is. It's
More
like
things.
all these cheat codes. You got to do this and go on all these side quests and stuff. And so when I saw what it was jumping to for new teachers, I was like, I almost swallowed my tongue
Yeah.
when I saw that. So it's like, that's a huge one.
Yeah, and everybody else was getting raised up. And yeah, it was impossible. Like, you can't do both things at the same time. You can't fix these systemic problems that have existed in our salary scale and somehow end up with everybody getting the exact same percentage raise.
Yeah.
And we knew that like this was going to be an issue, but we felt really strongly, and not just us, but like the bargaining team, we all agreed on it. It was important to fix the inequities that existed in our salary schedule and recognize that we are going to have this bargain where we end up with not everybody having the same percentage, but with everybody having a good percentage. I mean, think about how crazy things are in all of these like fear mongering people talking about, austerity, and we have to, you never know. Like, we got every single member at least an 8% raise, and we're going to be back at the bargaining table in 9 months. And now that we've fixed all these problems with the salary schedule and it is way more equitable, like now moving forward, we can ask for that across the board percentage raise that's the same for everybody. And it won't just like reinforce the injustice that existed like it did in our old schedule.
Yeah, because for anyone that's watching this right now, I think they consider anyone low income below $80,000 a year now in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like a starting salary was $66,000. How do you expect to attract anybody into a situation like that? And they go, by the way, just wait 10 years.
Yes.
And even going to school.
And go back to school and get the equivalent of 2 masters, right? The district itself, by its own data, like acknowledged that the starting salary wasn't enough to afford a 1-bedroom apartment in the city of LA.
That's insane.
What are we doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are we doing? Like,
That's
it is
crazy.
the toughest, one of the toughest professions. The first few years, you're just like pulling out your hair, trying to survive and not cry in front of our students. And then you finally start getting it right. And then you're like, now I got to go back to school to get all this cheat code. Like, like
100%.
Yeah.
Every day. It's like, have you been blowing your nose for 5 minutes? It's like, I'll be right there. It's a middle school life.
I can just tell how much you two really love this. And I just want to know, like, is this a lot of work behind this? How much work do you have to put in? How much time during the week? It doesn't get in the way of your personal life.
I love how they're
Jumping
smiling.
from middle school to this. Yeah. I'm very curious to hear that too.
Well, I think
Pass.
I mean, I commend you what you do, by the way.
Julie does a great job with work. I don't want to speak for you, but I love that Julie, and we're both, we don't have children, so we're, that's helpful.
That's easy, yeah.
And it's unfortunate that, it's harder for people with children to get involved in the union, right? We are both elected. It's different for us because we're both elected members. So in some regards, like, you're always on, right? So, and I think having a real supportive partner really helps because they understand. Like, I left, home on Saturday morning, and I was like, well, I don't know when I'll see you, but like, I'll see ya, and like not having texts, like what's going on and work, so that helps. Our job just doesn't stop because we have like our business during the day, our executive business as officers, but when members can meet is after 4:30 p.m. So then we have to meet them where they're at. So it's a lot. And if someone calls you on, on a Sunday or emails you and you're just like, okay, let me respond. So, but we are, I'm not in any way complaining, but it is hard to find a work-life balance. I don't know, Julie, what do you want to add?
Yeah, I always think about this a lot too, because it's definitely, it's a different kind of intensity than being in the classroom.
Yes.
Like, it is, there are certain freedoms we have, like, doing this full time. Like, we can go to the bathroom whenever we want.
Going to the bathroom.
That's a big win.
Big win. Those bathroom breaks.
Yeah. And it's not like we don't have to be physically like at school by a certain time so that we can sign in before they take away the card. So I do, like, I have to recognize my privilege in that situation. But it is also like, you know, there was that, I remember that feeling of being in the classroom and it was like the last day of school before summer or before like winter break. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm free. Like, where are we going to go have happy hour? And like, you know, we still sometimes have free time, but like we have a work phone and a personal phone. And it's like, so I'm having dinner with my husband. I have my 2 phones out, like just to make sure like nothing crazy is happening.
on.
You know, like, is there any other scandal with Carvalho? Let me check.
You guys are like Navy SEALs.
Yeah. What's the teacher's lounge saying now?
We've actually wondered that. I'm like, man, hopefully, we're not getting too many complaints to UTLA.
No, it's kind of, it's just like a different, because it is, you know, in a certain way, it's when you're in the classroom and you know, like there's so many things that you're dealing with, like the students have so much stuff going on. And I think like just, you feel for them and you want to help them, and like the stuff they're going through really like affects you in this really deep way. And like as a leader of UTLA, you're a little more different than that. It's not so much the pressure of like, oh my God, like what is going to happen with like Raquel's family situation? Right. Like I need, you know, but it's more like, oh my God, like what is going to happen with the superintendent? And like, what if we come out with a policy that's like bad or something? So it's kind of like more, it's more macro, but less like intensely personal, like that personal feeling of like failure. Because I mean, people keep saying like, oh, after 5 years, like, sorry to tell you, but like I was in the classroom for like 13 years and I never really felt like it was easy. And it's just like, I feel like if you care and you have like empathy for your students, it's always like, there's always incredibly hard days. And like, you internalize a lot of the stuff your kids are going through. And so, you know, I always, and I mean, I'm not saying we like don't have empathy now as officers, but it's different. It's not that like it's a different kind of responsibility, I guess.
Sure,
and at times more intense, at times not as intense.
It's for adults this time, though.
Right.
Not kids, adults.
But adults can act like, there's a lot of adults who act like middle school. In elementary school.
I'll laugh at a good fart joke.
Oh, 100%. Teaching middle school rewires your brain. That's all I laugh at now. You know? But go ahead. No, go ahead.
So one of the things, actually, speaking of the union and the importance of it, to me, like, and I think I speak for Matt as well, being part of a union is so amazing.
It truly
is. I don't think that people born into a world where unions already exist don't understand this, everything that people have done and what it was like before, right? And so one of the questions that I had from one of the veteran teachers that I work with is he said that he gets upset that people can actually benefit from the labor of the union and they opted out of their dues.
Yeah.
Right? Was that always the case, or did something like that just happen?
No, it just happened. So before, if you had a union, there were certain exemptions, and you would pay like a fee to cover the cost. Would say like it costs this to make sure you have a staff representative and someone to call, and you know there was a fee associated to that. And then early in Trump 1.0, the Janus ruling came before the Supreme Court and ruled that unions, you know, that people didn't have to join the union and they can opt out. UTLA was very much ahead of the curve there. We were working with other unions at the time on how to protect ourselves, protect the organization, to make sure that it could still live beyond like people just suddenly dropped. Newsflash, no, there wasn't like a sudden drop of people saying like, I don't want to be part of the union. And in fact, over the last several years, we've seen like younger teachers come in like with their membership card in hand before we even make the ask. And like, I came here to be a UTLA member. So that's been really like wonderful to see. But Janus, the Supreme Court ruled that folks don't have to opt into their union. So not even the service member fee that I talked about. And you know, we have to represent them. because they are workers.
But it's like the person in the group project that doesn't
That
do
does
any
all
work,
the-
but
yeah.
they because
Get all the
And,
credit.
and I think a
Very
ratification
familiar.
vote, especially like this, gives us an opportunity to talk about that, because a lot of people use, and I'm not saying that it's not true, but a lot of people use the monthly cost as a reason, like, look, I can't afford this extra $100 a month, right? But now with this new salary table, like we're going to ask, and in order for you to participate in the union, so we're going to ratify this contract next week. There's, make sure you vote yes. But like we're going to be ratifying, and if you want to say, if you want to have a say in getting us elected, if you want to have a say in running for the board of the board of directors at UTLA, if you want to say in ratifying this vote, you have to be a member, because yes, we have to represent folks that are not members, but we don't have to like just say you're now part of all our governance bodies. So, we always make the ask. So we always see an increase. It's important. In the last 6 months, we've won healthcare for everybody. We've, revamping of the salary scales, and we won a lot of protections for school sites that teachers are going to be able to implement come July 1. So this is a perfect time, if you aren't now, for you to have that conversation with your coworker.
I'm so go on.
Oh well, yeah. If I could just add one thing, like it's not like we just win these things as a union and then we just like keep having them.
Yes.
Every couple years, the district tries to like limit our healthcare or take away some of the stuff from because healthcare keeps getting more expensive. So it's something we constantly have to protect. And there are other unions, like I think some of them, like in Florida and stuff, they only have like 50% membership. Like if we have, I think, around 90% membership, and like that allows us, that's a strong union that the district knows we will fight if they try to take away our health coverage or if they try to give different tiers so that new people coming in get a lesser amount of healthcare. Like these are things we have to play offense, but we also have to play defense, and it's way easier to be playing both of those sides of the court. Like if you have a high percentage of union density because it means like the boss knows that they can't just F with you. Like we are all here and we are all union members.
And I'm so glad that you brought up healthcare, because I think that a lot of people throughout the United States and even people in Southern California that are teachers don't understand how much UTLA and their members get with healthcare compared to other districts.
Yeah.
And you need it if you're a teacher.
You do. Yeah. And what the reason why we're able to do that is because I think, I'm not quite sure, but LAUSD is the second largest employer in the city. Like LAUSD employs a lot of people. So that bargain happens independent of the bargain that we just finished up, because it happens with all of the other labor unions in LAUSD, because it just makes sense, especially with healthcare, that you are negotiating like 90,000 employees versus our 38, and so on, like that union has 10,000. So it just makes sense. Let's combine them together. We get a better rate. Local 99 members tend to be younger. They're in college. You remember what it's like when you were in your 20s. I never thought I was going to have to go to the doctor ever. Right now, I'm just like, I'll take the first available appointment, right? So, so it helps to counter off, the growing costs, because you have people who are healthier, who are more active, who are like also not going to retire with the benefits, because a lot of them go on, they take paraprofessional jobs while in college. So all of that helps us secure like freaking great healthcare for our members and their families.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
Please
it is. It's the
correct
best
me if I'm
healthcare
wrong
that
here,
I've ever
ready?
had.
But we're one of the only, a lot of districts do like some fixed cost thing where they only cover like maybe you and one other
Part
person.
of your
family, or whatever.
Yes.
But in Los Angeles, that is the hidden part of I'm going to say the hidden salary to help, because it'll cover your entire family, correct?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I think of San Francisco, who just also won a bargain not that long ago. And if you look at what they won across the board as a raise, it doesn't seem like much, but what they actually ended up doing was winning like employer paid healthcare
Mhm.
because they were paying up to $1,500 a month into their healthcare. Like
Wow.
now that's covered by the employer, which means maybe they got a smaller across the board percentage, but they also just are now being covered completely with their healthcare. It's like people are fighting for that.
Yeah, and to me,
Yeah.
that's also so important. Remember how you're talking about younger teachers and attracting them? Well, also, you need to keep the people that have families,
Yes.
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
There has to
Mhm.
be that
Yes.
incentive. And that's something it's for people that don't, it's almost like we're all equally yoked, I guess you could say, like, because that don't they find out like an average cost,
Yes.
right? And then that's what it is per person or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for continuing to
Yeah.
fight for
Thanks.
that.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well,
Yeah.
and we have to keep continuing to fight for it, but we also have to really fight for single payer healthcare and Medicare for all,
Yes.
because like it would be, I mean, I think about we are kind of limited in what we can even bargain for because healthcare is always,
Just a
you know,
rising cost.
it's always increasing. It's really important. We know we have to protect it and maintain it, but like it's almost like if we didn't have to also think about healthcare in terms of how much the district is spending on like workers and the cost
Right.
of work, like it, then we could really
Have a conversation.
talk about like
Yep.
Mhm.
like having fully staffed schools and having class size like they have in like New England, you know, which is
What
much
is their
lower
class
than ours.
size? In New
I don't know
England?
off the top of my head, but they're like
Yeah.
all those like New England states are the ones that have like the highest per pupil funding and
Wow.
And
small-
lowest student
Gotcha.
to adult ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask both of you a question because I know there's electives teachers who sometimes listen in on this. Is there ever a conversation for electives having smaller classes?
Yes,
And the
well-
reason I
oh.
bring that, I was going to say, the reason I bring that up is because I know we don't have to do state testing, which is like a huge thing. But is that the trade-off, or is there ever going to be a time when there's not like 40 kids in your class?
No, I mean, I'm so glad you asked that
Yeah.
because one of the kind of hidden victories
Uh-huh.
is that we negotiated an MOU that the district has promised to help existing LAUSD teachers if they're interested in getting their arts credential. Like there's programs you can do at no cost to you to get that arts credential. And the reason why I'm saying that is because for so long they've been cutting arts, and I think like it started in the 1990s. They started cutting arts, and now, you know, we do have arts in middle school and high schools, and in elementary schools, most of our art teachers are itinerant arts teachers, which means they're going to like 5 different schools. The only
Yes.
elementary schools that
Mhm.
have a full-time arts teacher are ones where, you know, parents have donated extra money so they could have that, you know.
Yeah.
So what we want to do, and whenever, like this time we wanted the district to hire more arts teachers, and the district was like, well, the problem is we have vacancies, we don't have enough art teachers. Like, yeah, of course not, because they're always like the first ones that gets cut
Yes.
when there's like a
Yes.
budget
Yes.
thing.
Art on a
Yeah,
card.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but so we have like Prop 28 is that initiative to put more arts funding into schools. So the district gets about $78 million per year from Prop 28. They're not spending it all, and it's being
Right.
dispersed in a way where like it's allocated to like individual school sites. So sometimes your school site doesn't get enough to hire like a whole teacher position, and you have to use that money for other things. So this MOU says we're going to have a pipeline for existing teachers who are interested to get their arts credential. We're going to have a task force to think about how we can maximize that Prop 28 funding so that we can get more teacher positions into the district. And more teacher positions means like it would be lower class sizes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then also to create schedules for elementary schools to have full-time arts teachers. So, you know, again, like I said before, I feel like this contract is kind of laying the foundation.
Yeah.
So we kind of got the structures in place. We're hoping we can get a bunch of teachers trained up to get their arts credentials. And then in 2028, we can demand some of the things you're talking about. Like ideally, I would love it if like for every 10 homerooms or in elementary school classrooms of kids, there was a full-time arts teacher. You know, that would be enough that every single school could have all the arts disciplines. And it seems unattainable right now because our staff over the decades has been so defunded and like cut to the bone. But
Yeah.
these are things that other districts just take for granted. Like my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are teachers in New Jersey. They teach at an elementary school with less than 300 kids. They have a full-time PE teacher. That's my brother-in-law. They have a full-time librarian, that's my sister-in-law. They have like 2 arts teachers. They have a full-time mental health professional.
Wow.
And like
Wow.
and a foreign language teacher.
Wow.
And this is all at
Mhm.
an elementary school of 300 students. Like even in the richest neighborhood in LA where parents are like donating extra money,
Yeah.
you don't have all those extra
Right.
resources
Not
at
at
the
all.
elementary schools.
Yeah.
And like I think we kind of get like, as teachers, we get like, we're limited by the low expectations that have just
True.
been kind of like beaten into us from
Mhm.
underfunding, you know? And so I think we need to really think as we lead up to 2028, like we need to be aspirational and be like, what is it? Like, what if we imagined like a really great school that we'd be proud to like send kids to, you know, like
Absolutely.
it would
Yeah.
have all these things. And I think,
Yeah.
you know, I as individuals, we don't really have, none of us have the ability to do that. But like, if you have a really strong union where everybody's down to like shut it down if we don't get it and like fight for these things that we need, I feel like 2028 is the opportunity that we can
Yeah.
make some real advances that we might not have thought were possible before.
And I
Yeah.
think
Awesome.
That's
I
amazing.
think it's also important that the societal nets that were in place, you know, 30, 40, 60 years ago around healthcare, right? Around job security, around public education, the investment in public
Mhm.
education, like all of those things are disappearing. Like
Mhm.
like healthcare and
Yeah.
the healthcare like professionals are struggling to keep, you know, people make sure that everyone has access to healthcare. It's important for us that public education exists for all.
Absolutely.
Because if we start allowing public education to be divested even more so, it's going to be a shell of itself. And then we're going to really have what some people are already trying to do is have like a society where the ultra rich have all the access to everything. And those of us who are not in that circle, we're struggling to stay afloat. And public education needs to not only be protected, but defended till the very last like moment, like they should claw it out of our hands.
Yes, because people I don't think understand.
Absolutely.
It's like we can't determine if someone is born into a rich family or a
Right.
poor family. You don't determine any of that. But I look at it as like allow us one time in
Yeah.
somebody's life to give them that equal
Everything,
chance,
yes.
The help,
and that's
yeah.
that's education,
Yes.
right?
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Mhm.
We educators have the opportunity to see the best in their students and like let it manifest itself, you know? And so with the right tools, with the right supports in place, any child with the supports that they need to succeed will succeed. But if you are constantly having to go and make up for the failures and the divestment, you get burned out because you know there are teachers that are going home right now on their way home that know that their students deserve better, but we
Absolutely.
just don't have the resources to grasp from.
And you know what?
Yeah.
That actually brings up another great point. One of the things I remember reading about was a bunch more of like what psychologists and PSW.
Yes.
I don't think that your average person, I keep saying that but when a child, we always say it, we talk about like when a child has major behavior issues, right? And then it's a teacher's having to put all of that energy into that. And it's like, am I doing that or teaching the class and content? And we always go, we need that extra support at
Right.
schools so that
100%.
that
Right.
kids can
Right.
get,
Absolutely.
so that they can work
that
through
extra
all
help.
of those issues so
Yeah.
that they can become ready to even
Yes.
learn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's like, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because especially right now, like COVID didn't happen that long ago and we're
I know.
still feeling the effects of it. And then
Right.
you have these ICE raids, like
Yes.
kids
Yes.
are going through so much trauma. And the fact is the majority of our schools don't have a full-time mental health professional
Yes.
to
Right.
be able to deal with those kids coming in with all these things. So it does, you know, sometimes kids act out behaviorally, sometimes kids withdraw, and like you as the teacher have to navigate all of that stuff
Absolutely.
and teaching them the content. And it's really, really hard. So that was something, and you know, unfortunately, so right before our contract win, it was that if you had a school that had 600 or more students, you got a centrally funded psychiatric social worker, which is like somebody that can counsel a kid who's going through trauma. Like, so we won that ratio to be reduced to 500. So if you have 500 or more students at your school, then you get a PSW full-time psychiatric
That's
social
good. That's
worker.
That's
important.
great, yeah.
And we
absolutely.
keep wanting, you know, we keep having to chip away because we know there are a lot of schools that have under 500 kids. And if those schools want to purchase a PSW position, they have to budget for it from their school budget. We also have attendance counselors who, like, if a kid stops showing up to school, they go do a home visit. They figure out what's going on with the kid's attendance. They make sure that the family has what they need, like get them access to groceries. A lot of our families are scared to go outside because they're worried about getting picked up by ICE. Like our
Yes.
attendance counselors are going and like dropping off groceries for them.
Yes.
So previously, in the old contract, schools that were considered to have chronic absenteeism, which was like 35% absenteeism on average, they would get a halftime attendance counselor position. So we were able to lower that percentage to 27%. So if you have
okay.
27%
Qualify.
attendance absenteeism, then you would qualify. So the threshold to get an attendance counselor went down, and we calculate that would be about, it was 92, right?
Yes,
92 additional PSAs will be hired. And then also school psychologists, the people who assess kids to see whether they should be in special education. We got more school psychologists, about 88.
Yes.
I think
And
so.
they also service students that fall within like qualifying for those things.
Oh, that's good.
And a little victory that I'm really proud of, because yes, our students come in. Look, I hope your audience knows that whatever is happening at home, we hear about it. Your kids come and give us all the tea all the time. And parents are worried about affordability. We have a high percentage of students that are not just housing insecure, but are houseless.
Yep.
We have a lot of foster students. We have students that are transitioning between incarceration and back into the school system. And one of the areas that is most affected by some of these issues is 90021, which is where Skid Row resides.
Sure.
And one of the victories that we got there was one, that the district is going to actually focus on what are the needs in those schools,
That's
right?
so
So like,
important.
let's look at the zip code. What are the needs? They must be unique to the rest of Los Angeles, right? I know a lot of schools have children, students who are unhoused, but that particular part of Los Angeles,
Absolutely.
if you've
They're
driven
born
through
like
it,
that.
you know it's a little bit deeper than that, right?
Absolutely.
And we were able to win, because you said 92, but we won 93
That's
because
right.
we won a specialized student service provider for that zip code that's going to work with those schools. Because now, okay, you asked me, you survey, what do I need? What I need are resources. What I need are, how do we get families access to shelters? How do we get, immediate rent relief? And so now we have someone who's going to work with those schools, and that's going to make such an impact.
That's amazing.
Because those students deserve to come in
Definitely.
safe, like
Absolutely.
Julie said, and ready to learn.
Yeah.
Because that's the expectation. The public has this expectation, like the test scores are going to come out, and everyone's going to be like, but what they're not seeing are all of these deep layers that, we're all familiar
That's
with.
important.
No,
Yeah,
they don't
They
see
don't,
that.
because
Yeah.
if you don't feel safe, you can't really learn. Like if you're stuck in
Absolutely.
fight or flight,
Yes.
you
Yes.
can't
Yeah.
even drive if you're
Yes.
stuck in fight or flight.
Absolutely.
You know?
It's
You're trying to survive
so
as
it's
a
like-
kid. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
your brain is in a different mode when you're
Yeah.
a child. So it's like
Yes.
it's just a totally different
Yeah,
thing.
people
It's- it's
just in
insane.
Los Angeles alone, I think there's like 216 different languages spoken, right? So you have so many kids. There are so many things that are going on. People look at these test scores, but then they're judging it based on some reality of what they think the classroom
Yes.
is supposed to be and the type of child that shows up to the
It's a
doorstep.
one size shoe fits all.
Right.
for-
Yeah.
When we all know that's
just-
Yeah, we're dealing with high amounts of poverty,
Yes.
right? Kids coming from such adverse backgrounds,
Yeah.
people that are homeless, kids trying to learn. Sometimes I feel like we just throw them in the deep end when it comes to learning a second language.
Yes.
Yeah, different countries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the stress that also puts on a teacher.
Yes. Yeah.
With a teacher has to, in 2026, somebody said this. It's like, I forget who it was. It wasn't at my school, but somebody's like, you just have to think of it like being an influencer. And I'm like, or maybe not. It's like, you got to do everything yourself. And I'm
No,
like,
that's a
not
lot.
the-
No,
Yeah,
no.
But I get what they're
old.
trying to say. I'm like, that's a terrible way to look
Yeah,
at
it's
it.
not a great analogy.
This is
but-
my new fit class.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, because
But-
the attention span is different, and the way kids process things, the way we process things
Absolutely.
nowadays is different.
it's totally different.
I used to read like the newspaper holding it in my hands.
I know.
Now, like I have to say, I read this article. I'm like, well, I read the highlights and the headline.
The headline.
you know, like let me
Online. Yeah.
And then so when I say I read it, like I really do mean that, like I read it, but I don't get to do that anymore. That's different.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's such a big load that the teacher has to
Yeah.
carry, and it's this thing to where the teachers are hurting and then the kids are hurting because it's so much. Like teachers are expected to be a corporation now, basically inside of the classroom to do
CFO,
45
negotiators.
different things. Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
There is one question that I really want to ask before we ever get into the wrap up, because there are so many people that want to know this. So sorry to cut.
No,
get into it.
go.
Yeah, for sure.
Other districts go after what's called the COLA, the cost of living adjustment.
Yeah.
They get it per year. It shows up in their paycheck. In LAUSD, teachers don't get that. We fight for the
More.
fight for it. So can you explain for everybody why UTLA doesn't fight for the COLA?
Well, it's not that we don't fight for the COLA. It's
Okay.
that the COLA is so insignificant sometimes that it doesn't make sense to set the bar so low. So over the last, and the district was happy to remind us, in our last bargaining round, we won a 21% raise. That was way higher
Mhm.
than COLA.
Mhm.
This time around, we won a minimum 8%, but most of our folks are getting, above 10, 15%. It doesn't make sense for us to tie our raises to COLA when we have the power as a union to fight for more. And if the district had its priorities set in place, we might trust the district to do right by us and be like, okay, like we're going to just roll over this COLA. But the district has $5.3 billion in reserves. And they gave us a 21% raise, and they just agreed to this badass, rehaul of our salary system. So obviously they can afford more than COLA, but it also just doesn't make sense for us to tie any of our increases to the state's overall health around
Makes sense.
financial health, right? It doesn't make sense. There's going to be some years where the COLA is shitty.
It's actually
Or
been
negative.
zero before.
Yes, negative.
Zero.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
what?
Imagine living right now with the cost of gas
Oh my gosh.
and groceries is what I meant to say, and groceries and rent, and the district saying your COLA is 0.2%, right? How would we survive?
Or
So
imagine even if they said
Yeah.
it's 2%.
yeah, exactly.
Like
2%.
I've
Uh-huh.
never heard any
Anyone
worker
get
be
happy
like,
over
wow,
that.
I got that
Yes.
COLA.
Yeah,
No.
that's a good point.
It sounds good because it sounds predictable, but you know what else is predictable? Our new salary table. So every year when you move across the columns, you're going to get 3.25%. That is predictable. Every time we go down the row, it's going to be 1.5. That alone, if you move this way and down, is more than the COLA. So it just doesn't make sense when the financial the financial health of the state is great. Then let's fight for more. When it's not, then let's fight for more. So we should never tie our salaries to the bare minimum. We should always be fighting for more because that's what we deserve. And the
Absolutely.
district has
And the
it.
cost of living just continues to increase. It's such
Especially
It will
in
always
LA.
go
I
up,
don't
yeah.
want my cost of living in Los Angeles to be based off of the average of the state when we know there's no other city besides San Francisco and San Diego. It just doesn't make sense.
And also, I love using AI to do research. Now with the new salary schedule in place, there wouldn't even be much difference at all with us doing with the COLA or whatever. And we have better healthcare than other people. I'm going to harp on that.
Yes.
Because when I realized, when I heard about other districts and what people are paying, I go, yeah, they could be making more. But when you factor in how much they're shelling out in healthcare,
Yeah.
they're making less. you know?
That's why
Yeah.
unions matter.
Yeah.
You brought up AI, so I also wanted to say that we won some protections from AI in our contract, because like
Really?
I mean,
Awesome.
it's crazy. It's kind of like a 180 degrees since I started. I remember when I started teaching, there was this concern about the digital divide, about kids not having access to devices, which was a real thing.
Yeah.
But now it's almost like it's like on the individual teacher how to protect the kids from this onslaught of just everything being available
Oh my
and AI. And
God,
like,
yes.
I'm not saying we've solved all the problems with our contract, but we have made sure that the district has agreed that they will not replace any worker with AI,
Yes.
and
Thank
that
God.
they won't use
Yes.
AI to surveil students or staff.
Yeah,
And I mean,
employees.
so this is just the beginning. Like, we have to keep thinking about, how we can do this better. I know my friend is a professor at UCLA, and he's saying that UCLA is talking about recording professors for AI purposes. So like, I mean,
Oh, no.
imagine, like, I
Wow.
think we don't even know all the implications of like how AI could become a big problem. But we also do
Absolutely.
know some of the implications. We know how like kids are using it to like bully each other
For everything.
And we've
sometimes,
seen
Yeah.
Terminator 2.
to do
Yeah.
their homework for them and stuff. And like, we want to try to put guardrails in. And it's crazy now, the most affluent parent groups at the most affluent schools are like trying to come up with like they'll make a pact to like get landlines so they don't need to get cell phones for the kids. So they're protecting the kids from AI. So
Yes.
it's like, and more
Yeah.
and more teachers are finding themselves going back to that paper and pencil and, having
Yes.
kids. So
Yes.
it's
It's a cheat
Nothing-
code. It's a
that we
cheat
think
code.
about
Nothing
Yes.
it.
Nothing
replaces-
replaces the paper and
Yeah.
pencil,
Yeah.
the connection.
The
Yes.
screen doesn't
Nothing.
do the. There's a
No.
connection. But
Yeah.
I bet it's
is.
scientifically
Between brain
backed,
develop.
Yes.
between using the pencil and doing the work
Absolutely.
and making the connections in your brain that cannot be replaced.
It can't be
Absolutely.
replaced.
Yeah.
It absolutely can't.
Especially in developing minds.
It's the
Yeah.
cheat code. Yeah.
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 It's the convenience of AI. It is scary. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of teachers were even scared too of Tesla bots, like taking
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
teaching drama.
Or I mean,
Yeah.
even like I
Like-
was at a school the other day, and these priority schools that are like they have to do extra professional development that the district like brings people in to do them.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was in like a dystopian movie, but I was sitting there listening to this presenter say, like, talk about great ways you can use AI. And so she's like, do you guys know about like the depth of knowledge, 1, 2, 3, 4 DOK?
Yes.
Like that's the whole
Oh,
thing.
sorry.
Yeah.
Should I explain
asking-
it?
you were
or-
asking
I
the
know
right-
not
No,
familiar with it.
Okay.
those people that are listening are teachers.
So-
So they don't
It's
know
like
that
DOK
one.
level 1 is like basic
don't know.
recall,
Yeah.
and then it gets higher. And
Your
DOK
YouTubes.
4 is like a very high level, high thought process question.
Mhm.
So this presenter was like, you can use AI and you can ask them, how can I write a DOK level 4 question for this or that? And I was like,
Wow.
what the hell? Like
Mhm.
we should not be using AI to craft questions that would elicit a high level response from students. Like, we should be thinking about
No,
those things.
that's the
Yes.
thing.
Uh-huh.
Like, because it will only be, just remember when we said the search engine will only be as good as the user, the
Yes.
computer.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's the same thing with AI.
Yeah.
Like, you have to ask it still specific questions. Like,
yes.
Yes.
You have to be able
It's
to
not
ask a
per-
high quality
it's not
question and
perfect.
think in depth,
Yes.
so
Yeah,
you
it's not
can
perfect.
feed
Yeah.
it
It's not
something.
perfect,
You
yeah.
know?
It's not. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, you mentioned Local 99. Something that I think is absolutely historic is that how many years ago was it that UTLA and SEIU
2023, the solidarity strike. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I don't even know if there's another district that has done anything like that before.
That was pretty historic. Yeah, like it was they had been bargaining a little longer, just like this time around. They had been bargaining just like we're ahead of schedule with us than us. And if the opportunity presented itself because they had positioned themselves to go on a strike. We were at the bargaining table, and just like in familiar fashion, the district kept saying no, 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 and so this alliance, I wouldn't say alliance, but this coalition of workers of like the two biggest unions in LAUSD
Yeah.
bargaining at the same time. And we're starting to see like these patterns of disrespect and patterns of delay from the district. And they're like, we have a UPC strike coming up. And we're like, well, we don't cross picket lines.
Mhm.
And then we went through, a process with our members to to like join them, and people overwhelmingly were like, yeah, we're here for the workers. They were fighting for a living wage, right? Like
Yep.
it was, they were telling all these stories of how their 99 members were having to like, you know, take other jobs over the summer, like apply for unemployment, how they were, you know, living with 2 or 3 roommates just to make ends meet. And so it was such an easy decision, and our members, you know, just really saw the power, because when we came back to the bargaining table, that like things just started rolling right after that, because the thought of a second strike that they knew 99 would join us in, like the district knew that in order to avoid that, we were going to have to come to the bargaining table and start actually bargaining. So that presented itself this time around similarly. And now we had the administrators. I know.
Power to the
Which is
I was
crazy.
like this
Yes,
when I heard
know.
about it. It was
Yeah.
5 a.m. in the morning. I was like, power to the people.
I was
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm new to this, but like I was surprised over how long it took them to finally like the district, because I was like, man, we really are going to go on strike. Aren't they scared? Because it's like everybody is joining in on this. I was, you know.
And so, Matt, you don't even know that I did the research. There's only been 4 other times in the history of the United States where that administrators and the teachers struck together.
Wow.
And we would have been like number 4 or 5.
Wow.
And I go, to me, to shut down an entire system. And then when you guys are talking about 2028 coming up,
Yes.
I go, I get goosebumps.
Like,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
didn't they
Wait,
fold
but you know
right
what?
then? Is
That's
my
the thing.
yeah.
Like, we can't always be in our silos. You know, in UTLA, we're like a badass union, and we're strong and we're powerful, but our power has a certain limit. And like, solidarity is about just standing with all other unions. Like, we have solidarity now with 99, with AALA.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even stop there. Like, if we don't have solidarity with immigrants that are being kidnapped by ICE right now, then we're not going to win with a big W. You know, like we need to all be together, and like we need to show up for each other. There was just that professor who was arrested because he threw the tear gas canister that ICE threw at him back at ICE, you know, and then he was facing 20 years for like attacking an ICE
Cal
officer.
State Channel Islands.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, John Caravello from Cal State Channel Islands, and he was acquitted, you know. And I think we need to, like, during this time when like there really is a threat of fascism, the first thing they go after is public education, you know. And so it's important. We can't just look at ourselves and any little like, oh, I'm in this union, I'm in that union. Like, all the unions have to come together. Even if you're not in a union, like, just
join us.
Everybody who is a working person who cares about being able to afford to live in LA, everybody who cares about their immigrant neighbor who's worried about being kidnapped, like, we all have to stand up right now and not just be in solidarity, but use that solidarity for collective action and power.
Yeah.
Yep.
And everyone cares
Definitely.
about something, because even if you don't care about those things that Julie just mentioned, what you do care about is your property value on Zillow, right? Everyone loves to say like, how much, and you know how that
People own
property
property?
value is like, I know. Well,
Yeah,
not
what
yeah.
is this?
You know the
this?
people I'm talking
I know,
about. Yeah, you know the
yeah.
people I'm talking about. The people that don't care about the
The
what
normies.
Julie
Yeah.
like, you know what drives up property values like crazy? Good schools. So you do care about the school system, right? Whether you care to admit it or not. So like, and you have to realize how like investment in public education is an investment in society at large.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I really love y'all. I feel like I want to eat some popcorn and just listen to y'all, because y'all are
We
so
love
amazing.
No, we're UTLA
Exactly.
fans around here. I want to get it tattooed on my knuckles.
Exactly.
All right,
UTLA.
okay. We'll be back.
We're-
What?
So
Okay.
if you get,
You know.
I'll tell you what, if you get UTLA tattooed on your knuckles, maybe we could work out like a 5% discount every time you go to the UTLA store.
Yes,
I like
I'll
that.
speak with the
See?
treasurer.
This is bargaining right now. The bargain
Bars.
continues.
How do because y'all been there for a long time? How does you get into certain positions? You had to get voted in, or
Mhm.
okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, we have elections for the office. Like, Gloria and I are 2 of the 7 officers of UTLA, and then we have a board of directors. And so,
House of
They're-
Representatives.
but those are not the same
Yeah, no, it's
elections.
not the
Like,
same.
yeah, so every 3 years there's the elections for the officers and the board of directors.
What would you give
Right.
feedback to someone who wants to get into UTLA and to get a position like you guys?
Or how
What's
about,
the
where
work?
do they even
The
start?
work.
Yeah, how do they
even-
How they start?
Well, I think they should, like, figure out, do they know who their UTLA chapter chair is at their school? And
Mhm.
if there isn't one, they could be the
Yeah,
UTLA chapter chair.
being
Yeah.
a union
But-
steward is a great
But
start.
even if there is a UTLA chapter chair, they could join, like we have these things called chapter action teams, CAT teams. And so, because, you know, sometimes it's hard to delegate. If you have a school with a bunch of teachers and you're the chapter chair, a lot falls on you. So
Right.
we encourage people to have these CAT teams, which is kind of like your little group that helps you do UTLA stuff, you know?
Okay.
So
Mhm.
it doesn't always have to be an election. Like I'm going to run against this person who's the chapter chair, but
Yeah.
it could be like, look, I'll be the vice chair, like, you know, and,
Yeah.
and I'll work with you and help you out. And then if you've been doing that and you want to take the next step, you could join the area steering committee, which is the
Yes.
people that plan the regional meetings. And, you know, it could
Bargaining team.
yeah, when I did that, I started like helping out, like ordering the food for the area meetings and stuff. And then if you're elected to the area steering committee, that's when you can join the bargaining team. And
Very cool.
then
Gotta pay
then
them
you could
dues.
like run for board of
Yeah.
directors, House of Representatives. You know,
Mhm.
there's a lot of opportunities to get involved. And if that all seems kind of overwhelming, you could see when our next area meeting is, which I think is May 13th.
I
but
think you're right.
yeah, if you go
Yeah.
to UTLA.net on the calendar, you can see. But you could go show up to the area meeting. We have 8 of them in all different parts of the city. And you could just ask somebody questions
Yeah.
there. And
Absolutely.
we'd be happy to
Yeah.
ask. Or you could just at UTLA.net, we have like a question form. You can ask
Yeah.
us and somebody will answer it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
There's
awesome.
plenty of opportunity for like every level. Like people want to get comfortable, you know, just get their feet wet, and you know, and so we're always looking on as leaders in the union, and that includes our board of directors and what leadership identification is very important too, because like I'm so honored that I'm going to be like the next UTLA president. I'm
That's so
following
Ooh, you deserve
Thank
it.
you.
You
Thank
deserve
do.
it.
I'm
Hats off.
following
Yeah.
great people before me, but I realize like I realize now that I am just like such a small part of UTLA, right? There's like 50 years behind me of history, and considering fascism on the rise, and considering, you know, the attack on unions and whatnot, like my goal is to like my dream is to that this organization continues way beyond me. So like
Yeah.
people are going to have to be ready to like continue the work that we're
Absolutely.
all so passionate about. Like Julie and I are here talking to you guys, and we're so lucky, but we represent all of the countless conversations. You know, I mean, I left home, I left the UTLA building before you did, because I was like, I'm about to crash, y'all. And
Yeah.
went
After
home.
bargaining.
Yeah,
when we
after
finally got the
bargaining
settlement.
Sunday
Yeah.
morning.
Wow.
I think I left the building at 7:42. I put my head down. I washed my face. I felt so good. Put my head down, and 30 minutes later, my phone was ringing, and it was people yelling and upset. And then once you talk through with some, like, people turn it around. They're just like, oh, thank you so much for listening, you know? So I say all of that because, you know, like that we need people who are passionate about what they love, and
100%.
teaching is an act of love. You don't do
It
this
is.
for the fame, you don't do this for the money, you don't do this for, you know, you do this because you believe in the little people in front
Can
of
make a
you, and
difference.
that's beautiful, right? So we want to make sure that there is a union that is going to protect, that's going to fight for investment into our schools. We want to make sure that there's a union that protects workers, that looks out for communities, and that, like, we're here, you know, like, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time, right? Like we're going to do the best we can, and then we're going to help people continue that awesome work beyond us.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's a mic
Absolutely.
drop right there. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So, we're going to wrap up,
Yep,
but
yep.
looking forward, right, to this now, like I said, I'm really that's what amazed me with this contract. I was like, wow, it's actually kind of short. And thank you for explaining to me the reason why, because I kind of heard tidbits, you know, but then it all makes sense, you know, because that big, I'm not going to call it a showdown, but like with all the different unions and stuff like that, looking forward to 2028, right? What are you looking forward to? Do you want to go first?
Sure. Looking forward to 2028. I really want all of us to think about what is possible for us in a union to like really bring things to the district that like the things that we had when we were elementary school students
Mm-hmm.
that kids don't have anymore, like more arts teachers, you know, like, and to just, you know, to finally get California #1 in per pupil funding. I think like we just need to do that. We, you know, I talked before about how we're the 4th largest economy in the history of the world, and like, yeah, we shouldn't, there's no reason why we shouldn't be #1 in terms of per pupil funding. So in 2028, it's an opportunity for us to not only demand that the district get its priorities straight and invest more in schools, but also to demand that the state get its priorities straight and invest in all the kids in the state of California.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
I think for me, this question has kept me up a lot. I think for me, if we get there, I am most looking forward to a labor movement that unites to fight for democracy, that is like willing to throw down to save the last remnants of our democracy. So if it happens that the election doesn't go our way, that we take it to the streets. If it happens that the election does go, you know, quote unquote our way, but the powers that be won't relent, that we throw down to the streets. And let's say we elect all the quote unquote right people, that we're still out on the streets to hold them accountable, because we didn't get here because of one person. We've gotten here because people have been systemically screwing over working class people. So I hope it does not happen, but the way I think of 2028 is through what Julie just described, creating a movement that is ready to call the question on defending democracy if it comes to it.
I love it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So 2 mic
Thank you.
drops. Boom,
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 boom.
boom.
There we go.
Thank you so
Yes,
much,
thank
and
you.
everything.
Both of
Thank
you
for coming out.
UTLA.
Thank you for
Thanks
taking the
for having
time
us.
for the little
Yeah.
people. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
having us. We're
Yeah.
so
Oh,
excited.
you're great.
Yeah, this was very fun.
Yeah.
And thanks for
Yeah.
having the energy to like be a full-time
Yeah.
teacher and then also
And-
do a podcast.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Well, hey, you have no idea how much it energized me finding out that you two were coming. I was
Yeah,
like,
thank
absolutely.
you.
Yeah, definitely. He told me, and
Definitely
I was like,
blessing.
"What?
They
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
That's
Thank you so
amazing.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you're welcome back anytime.
Anytime.
Seriously,
Thank
and we're
you.
not just saying that on the air. You're both welcome back anytime.
Thank you
For
so
sure,
much.
for sure.
Appreciate
Yes.
it.
All right,
Yeah.
y'all take care. Thank y'all so much.
All right.
Appreciate
All right.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
all.
much.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, everybody.
Peace out, y'all.